Hi there, this is Miss Caitlin from Fibo Kids Art Academy, and today we are continuing our Around the World series. We are going to be traveling to the European country of Germany today. So keep on watching to find out what we're going to be making. All right, so this is what we're going to be making today. As you can see, we have a lot of stuff to get through for Germany. It's a very old country with lots of history. So there are two ways to go about this project. As if you've been following this series, you probably know. There is the book version, which is what I'm going to show you how to make today. And there's also the map version, which is like a huge wall map. So I'll go into explaining first the wall map version. Now, to make the wall map version, you are going to need two pieces of watercolor paper actually stuck together. This is just a small example that I'm using. So you would want to take maybe two pieces of watercolor paper and tape them together, and that way you could draw the map onto the other side. Then what you would do for the landmarks that we're visiting is you would cut out maybe like 1 inch by 1 inch or 2 inch by 2 inch squares to draw the landmarks on. Again, this is just a smaller size to give you an idea of what it would look like, but again, your actual one would be much, much bigger. If you want to do the book version of this project like me, you're just going to need a pad of watercolor paper to draw on. We're going to draw all of our map and our landmarks onto the same pieces of watercolor paper from one pad of it. So decide which way you want to go about this project and grab the appropriate paper. We are going to start off first by drawing it all out. So you're going to need a pencil and eraser. For coloring, there's a lot of ways that you could go about this, but for this project today, we are going to be using watercolor, oil pastel, and a little bit of marker. Okay, so go ahead and grab those materials, and then you can come back to your desk and we will get started. All right, so we are going to go ahead and begin. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to draw the map of Germany. So for this, you are either going to need that large piece of paper that's going to be your map, or you just need a blank piece of paper, hopefully watercolor paper, to make the map of Germany. Now you should be using a pencil to draw as well as an eraser, but I'm going to be using a Sharpie just so that you can see. As well, you'll probably notice I just put on the final draw note. That's because there is no practice draw for this. We are just jumping right in, because really all these shapes are actually pretty easy. So once you're ready to start, let's go. Now Germany, it's kind of an interesting shape. It doesn't really look like anything. It kind of has like a blob. To me personally, it kind of looks like a chicken nugget. You kind of see it? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But for me, that's how I can easily visualize it. So what I'm going to have us do is start from the top of our paper here. This is going to be again with your pencil. I want you to draw just a short wavy line just about here. If at any point you need to pause the video just to kind of see what I'm doing, or that you need more time, please feel free to do so. I'm going to do a curved wavy line down. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to do kind of like this curved rainbow line out and then down. Next, I'm going to draw a curved wavy line. Kind of looks like if you were about to make like a C shape, sort of, kind of. Now let's hop over to the other side. Let's work over here. You're going to draw a curved wavy line. Then draw a really curved wavy line. And then draw sort of like a diagonal line. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw a sort of U shape to connect. And there we have it. That's the country of Germany. Now, Germany has some borders here of countries that are on the sides. It's a little bit towards the north. It's in the west part of Europe, but a little to the north. So we're going to draw just a line here and a line here for the countries it borders. And then it borders another country right here. This is actually the country of Denmark. So we're just going to draw a little curvy wavy line, little wavy line there. And we're done. So here we have the country of Germany all drawn out. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw the flag for Germany on the inside. Now, the flag for Germany has 3 colors and they are all horizontal. So we need to draw 3 even stripes. So I want us to start just about here. I want you to draw a wavy line across. Make sure it's pretty straight. Start about, maybe about here. Draw another horizontal wavy line across. Now, once you have that, we're going to go ahead and place in the capital, which is Berlin. Now, Berlin is just about here on a map of Germany. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little dot. And I'm going to write Berlin. B-E-R-L-I-N, Berlin. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some time to just fill in this map and sort of decorate it. Now you can go pretty crazy with the decorations if you so please, but I'm just going to be very simple with mine today. So I have some watercolor off on the side here. I have a bucket as well as I have my palette. It's right here. I also have a mixing tray. Now before we do any of this is again, we're just doing the final draw and then doing some coloring as we go. It's not as rigid as when we usually do practice final color. Before you start with your watercolor and before you start decorating anything, I want you to outline everything with a Sharpie so that it can stand out. So pause the video really quick and outline everything with a Sharpie before you begin. All right, if you're ready to continue with coloring, again, I have my watercolors here. I have my bucket off to the side. I'm going to stack that here. I also have some oil pastel. Now, I'm not going to be using terribly much of the oil pastel for the map today, just to do a little bit of decoration, as well as to sort of make things stand out. If you don't have oil pastel, you could use crayon or even color pencil for this part, because color pencil is not really going to budge terribly much with watercolor, depending on the type you have. So, starting with the oil pastel, I'm just going to take a green color. I'm going to outline the outside parts of Germany. Again, not pressing too hard, but pressing hard enough that I'll make this very nice border around the edge, just to give the map a little something, make it more interesting. Alrighty, and don't forget Denmark at the top here. Again, these are all the countries, this green area here and up there, those are countries that border Germany. Now here we have 2 bodies of water that border Germany on either side. So I'm just going to take a blue color. I'm just going to give that another outline. And do so around the edges. All right. If you want to add like a couple of lines for water, you can. Might even do some in a light blue. And there we go. Later, if you want to add more stuff, you can feel free to do so, like trees and maybe some extra little animals around the sides here. There's lots of forests and mountainy areas in this chunk of Europe. So I'm done with my oil pastels for now. I'm going to go ahead and set them aside. And I'm going to bring back those watercolors from before. Now, the colors of the German flag go this way. It goes black, red, gold, or yellow. So that's what we're going to do. Now, just so that I can kind of see my Berlin here, I probably won't go really dark with the black color, but maybe I'll do like a dark gray. So I'm going to take my black, it's pretty thin. I'm just going to start filling this in. Now, if you find, like I am right now, might be kind of hard for you to see, but I can still see it fine in real life. But if you find that your name for Berlin that you outlined with a Sharpie, you can't see it anymore, that's actually okay. You can go back in with either white paint whiteout, even like a whiteout pen or a white gel pen, and write it back in. Just make sure that your paint is completely dry when you go to do that. You can see I'm being really careful as I get around these edges here. This color is very, very strong, so I don't want it to get into the stripe here, which is going to be red later. So I'm just filling in as I go. Now again, if you are like, Miss Caitlin, whoa, you're going kind of fast here. Don't worry, you can pause the video at any point. It's kind of the beauty of the video. Again, being very careful around these edges. There is oil pastel blocking the way, but even still, I want to be neat so that even if I do accidentally go over that edge with another color, this one won't bleed into that. Alrighty. Now I'm going to make sure I wash off my brush super duper well after I am done with the black. You don't want any of that paint left over for when we go into the red. All right, the middle stripe is going to be a red color. You could use either just a pure red, you could even use sort of like a red-orange to make it really stand out. It's up to you. I get a little bit more water on my brush here. There we go. And again, I'm being very careful as I get towards the edges. Even though there's oil pastel there, kind of protecting that edge, still don't want to cross it. This is like a large area that we're trying to fill in. So just take your time. I'm really excited to show you some of the places that we're going to be visiting today. One of them I think you're really going to enjoy, because it relates to something that we have here in the United States. All right, trying to get around these edges here. There we go. Nice and even. All right, last but not least, we have the gold or the yellow color at the bottom. Make sure you really get your brush nice and clean. Pick up some yellow or some gold if you have it, and fill that in. Now, if you don't ever have a color or you don't have like the material that I'm using, please feel free to just substitute what you have. For the colors of the German flag, I mean, these are the colors. Maybe if you don't have this exact yellow, you can feel free to find maybe a different yellow that you have. But if you're like, Miss Caitlin, I don't have watercolor or I don't have oil pastel or something similar, that's okay. You just use what you have. This project will look good even still. All right. So there's the flag, all done. I'm gonna go ahead and take some time to fill in the land as well as the ocean, or the bodies of water here. So I'm gonna use this dark forest green color. I'm just gonna quickly fill in these areas here. Now, because we're filling in such large areas, try and use your long strokes. It'll help your watercolor, if that is what you're using, look very neat and even. Making my way around the edges here. There we go. Almost done. Now, even though we consider Germany to be in West Europe, I told you earlier that it's kind of towards the north. Not all the way there, but it's close. So you can imagine that it can get pretty cold in Germany. In fact, they probably get lots and lots of snow in the winter. All the countries that are north of Germany this way, the Nordic countries, they get lots of snow. They're really close to the Arctic Circle. In fact, some of those countries are actually in the Arctic Circle. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the rest of the water here. You can see I'm using this very well-loved color here. It's like a turquoisey blue. I think I'm gonna use up just the last of this today for Germany. Yep, it's almost out. Maybe you have colors like that too that you use, where you use them a lot, they're your favorite. They look really well loved like this one. All right, and there is our map all done. Now again, you can feel free to come back and add lots of details later. You can see even for me, I've added in, on the example that I showed you, I went over the title of Berlin again, but I added in some of these little trees just to make it a little more interesting. But again, we'll have to wait for this to dry before we do anything like that. So at this point, I want you to set your map aside. So I'm going to set my map of Germany over to the side here. And we are going to go ahead and draw the landmarks. So if you are doing the book version, you're going to take out some blank pieces of paper like me. If you are doing the map version, this is where you take out the little pieces of paper that you're going to draw your landmarks onto, okay? So again, these can be like 1 inch by 1 inch or 2 inches by 2 inches. It's really up to you. Now you're going to do this part in a pencil, but I'm going to be doing this in Sharpie again so that you can see. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and begin. The first place that I'm going to take you to is the Heidelberg Castle. Now, in order to draw out our landmark and to draw out our first place, we need to draw in some rectangles or some squares just so that we're going to be able to have them all laid out. So go ahead and take your pencil and draw in 2 rectangles on your paper. Again, it's okay if they're not perfect, just try your best. These are for our first 2. All right, the names are pretty long today, but just try your best. Again, you can always pause the video when you need to. Again, we are visiting Heidelberg today and visiting the Heidelberg Castle. So it's actually in the city of Heidelberg. I'll show you the spelling here. So that's Heidelberg, H-E-I-D-E-L-B-E-R-G, Heidelberg. We're visiting the Heidelberg Castle. Germany is known for actually having lots of really famous and really old castles. So we're going to be visiting actually 2 of them today, this one being the first. Now, the Heidelberg Castle is actually really cool. It's one of the last sort of Renaissance structures in the Northern Alps. So the Alps kind of runs through Germany as well. Like I said, lots of mountains, lots of forests. As well, the construction for this castle started in the year 1214. So that's a really long time ago. This castle is very old, and it's been, reconstructed and worked on over the centuries, even up until now. What I think is really cool about this castle, besides for the fact that it's super duper old, right, is that in the year 1537, it was struck by lightning and it was destroyed. It destroyed the entire upper part of the castle. And then 200-ish years later, in 1764, it got struck by lightning again, and it ruined the castle. I don't know what's wrong with this castle, but it keeps getting struck by lightning. I also think that's really cool. And it's also been damaged through by other things like fires and, things going around it. This castle has just sustained itself and remained just this enormous structure for so many years because it keeps being rebuilt. So we're very lucky to have it around, I think. And let's go ahead and draw it. Now there's a lot of bits and pieces to the Heidelberg Castle. The first thing I want us to draw is actually just a plant or like a tree here. I'm just gonna do a bunch of not U-shapes, pardon me, rainbow lines, kind of over and over to make sort of a simple sort of tree or, plant shape. Next, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start from where we left off from that tree. It's really close to us, and we're gonna draw a long horizontal line. Next, I want you to draw a straight line up, just about here, and draw another horizontal line that touches the edge of your square. Then I want you to draw, starting maybe about here, a long horizontal line, hop over your tree that goes off to the other side. All right, let's draw the first part of this castle. So we're gonna draw just a tower that's over on this side, and even what we're drawing right now for our example is not the entire castle. It's actually way bigger than this, just so you know. I want you to go to this section right here, and you are gonna draw a nice big square. Then I want you to draw a slightly smaller square on top, and a slightly smaller square on top of that, kind of like you were making a cake. Next, I want you to just draw a straight line through the first two squares there. Next, we're going to add some windows. You're going to draw a rainbow and a horizontal line, a rainbow and a horizontal line, and do the same thing on this top layer here. All right, next we're gonna draw another part of the castle that I think is really pretty. What I want you to do is start from right about here on that layered structure, and I want you to draw just a horizontal line out to about here, nice and long. Next, I want you to go just about here and draw a straight line down. This is gonna be two different parts of the building. All right, right about here, I want you to draw a triangle. Don't worry, it'll make sense in a second. This is gonna be almost like a tower. I want you to draw a very long number 11 underneath that. Good job. Next, I want us to go again to the side of our little tower here. I want you to draw a horizontal line out, straight line down, straight line down. Next, we're gonna go ahead and work on the roof, just of this part right here. So what I want us to do, I want you to go on top of this line. I want you to draw a number 11 and a number 11. Then I want you to draw a mountain on top and a mountain on top. And then on top of each of these mountains, I want you to draw a diagonal line in and a diagonal line in, just like this. All right, now we're gonna make the roof. So these parts are kind of coming out from this rooftop. So I want you to draw now a horizontal line and a horizontal line. From this point, I want you to draw a diagonal that touches our tower and draw another diagonal that touches our building there. Alrighty, good job, you guys. You're making it through. Right here, I want you just to draw another little diagonal line. That's just gonna help the roof look more connected. Now, on this point right here, I want you to draw another little mountain shape. And if you have room, draw another little mountain shape here. These are kind of like little spikes that are on the top of the building. Last but not least, we are going to draw some windows here. Now, on the windows, you're going to draw two little squares and two little squares. All right, and then next we're going to draw, again, that rainbow and a rainbow, and connect with a horizontal line. Now that's all we're going to draw in with our pencil for now. If you want, you can add the same kind of windows over on this building. But other than that, we're going to keep this here. We'll add more details and more windows in the coloring steps. All right, next we have the Berlin, we have a building in Berlin. It's called the Brandenburg Gate, and it was even associated with and kind of connected to the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall actually kind of cut off the entrance or the way through the gate. So let's go ahead and write Berlin at the top here. This is in the capital of Germany. Again, it's called the Brandenburg Gate. It's kind of a long name. I'll try and write it out as quickly as I can for you. Brandenburg Gate. So if you need to pause the video to write that down, go for it. It's B-R-A-N-D-E-N-B-U-R-G, and then gate. All right, so let's go ahead and draw this gate. So what was the Brandenburg Gate and what is it? Because it's still actually around today. It was first constructed in the year 1788 and finished in 1791. Not bad for a construction project, but as you can tell, it's very, very old. It's today a symbol of unity in Berlin, because Germany actually used to be divided, or at least Berlin was heavily divided, and it was divided by this thing called the Berlin Wall. You might learn about it in history. And the Berlin Wall cut off West Berlin from East Berlin. And when it came down, you could gain access to the gate again because the wall cut off access to the gate. So that's why it is this kind of symbol of unity, because it allows you to travel from one end of Berlin into the next. So let's go ahead and draw it. For the Berlin Wall, it is sort of inspired by Greek Doric columns. So it's going to look really similar to, for example, the Parthenon, as well as even our own White House, because again, those things were inspired by Greek architecture. To do this, we are going to start by drawing a ground line for the gate to rest on. So I want you to go towards the bottom of your paper, and you're going to draw just a long horizontal line all the way across. Next, I want you to go just about to the middle here, and we are going to draw the top part of the gate. So for this, what you're going to do, I want you to draw just a long horizontal line, about this long, about that high. Next, I want you to draw 2 diagonal lines going inwards, and then connect with another very long horizontal line. And then you're going to draw 2 straight lines down, and then connect with another long horizontal line. I purposely have left off some of the edges here. Next, we're going to go ahead and do the top part of the gate. I want you to do 2 vertical lines up. I want you to do the same thing in the middle. Then in this middle section, I want you to draw a really long, thin rectangle. Now you can connect the top parts here with a long horizontal line. And then you're going to draw 2 diagonal lines on the inside. Now, our paper's kind of small, so we're not going to be able to see this really beautiful statue of the Greek goddess Nike at the top here, but we'll kind of draw some shapes to show that it's there. So on the real Brandenburg Gate, there is a chariot with the goddess Nike, and she has these horses. So the horses are in the front, and you can see the goddess in the back. But again, our paper's kind of small, so we're not going to be able to draw all those details. So instead, I want you to go to the top here, draw a rainbow, a taller rainbow, a rainbow, a rainbow. On the top here, I want you to draw a circle and kind of give the circle wings. So you're going to draw a curved line out and back in, curved line out and back in. All right, so we've got the top of the Brandenburg Gate. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw some columns. There are 3 columns on either side of the gate right here that are holding it up. So we're going to go to this side, we're going to draw 1 column. It's basically like a long number 11. Go to the other side, do the same thing. Then you're going to draw another column and another column. So we have 2 on each side. Then you're going to draw 1 more on each side to make 3. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw the rest of the gate. So I want you to go to the side. You're going to draw a horizontal line out and a horizontal line out. You want a roof there, so do that line again on the top. And then we can draw in some columns. So again, that's like you're drawing number 11 over and over until you get to the edge. Ta-da! We have the Brandenburg Gate. All right, next we are going to go ahead and move on to drawing our other places that we're going to visit. So take this paper and just set it aside for now. We'll come back to it in a minute, don't worry. We're going to draw our next set of landmarks. Now this one has a castle in it, which I think you're really going to enjoy. First, let's go ahead and draw in our rectangles. So again, we want 2 rectangles on our paper. If you're doing the map version, you just need your 2 new squares. You don't have to draw any rectangles because you already have that prepared. All right, let's go ahead and draw our first one on this page. This place has kind of an interesting name, and it might be kind of hard to pronounce. This place is called the Neuschwanstein Castle. Now, the Neuschwanstein Castle is so beautiful. It's purposely made to be absolutely stunning. And what's so great about this castle is that it actually was so beautiful, it inspired the Sleeping Beauty castle that we now see in Disneyland. So they look really similar. Now, this is in a place called Schwangau, which I'm probably saying it wrong because my German is not the best it could be, but I'll help you write the name out on the top. So this is the village that it's in. S-C-H-A-N-G-A-U. And then Neuschwanstein is very long. So again, if you need to pause the video after I write it out so that you can spell it, go for it. All right, so there's how you spell it. I know it's kind of long, but it's Neuschwanstein. Now, the word for castle in German is Schloss, which we're not going to write because I want you to make sure that you're able to write one of these words very confidently, but you can practice saying it. Say Schloss. Schloss. All right, so once you're ready to begin on the castle, let's start. Again, we're going to start with kind of actually the front of the castle here. The castle itself is really huge. It's sort of on this hilltop. We're only going to be seeing it from one perspective. So trust me as we go. I promise it'll turn out fine. I want us to start in this area of our box. I want you to draw sort of a small triangle and another small triangle. And then draw 2 lines down on each. Next, I want you to draw a mountain shape and then another mountain shape on the inside. Okay, next we're going to work on a part of the Neuschwanstein Tower. So you're going to go just about here and draw a number 11. Draw 2 short diagonal lines and then 2 lines up, and then connect. And next we're going to go ahead and draw 2 more lines up, and then I want you to draw kind of like a box right here. Last but not least, draw a mountain on top of here. Good job. All right, next what I want you to do is we're gonna draw a little triangle shape right here. Watch how I draw this. I'm gonna start from that corner, draw a diagonal line up, down, and then draw a straight line down. There's a little roof right here, so you can draw just a short horizontal line. Might be kind of hard to see, but it's the line right here. And then we're gonna start on my favorite part of the castle, which is all the stuff that's gonna be happening over here. So what I want us to do, I want us to draw 2 straight lines up right here, very thin. Then draw a very tall triangle shape. I want you to go over to this side, draw another very tall triangle shape. You want it to be about even with this one. Now I want you to go down here and draw sort of a very wide triangle. Lots of triangles for this castle, you guys. Underneath this guy, I want you to draw, again, that very long number 11. Over here, I want you to draw a very short number 11. Now, between these 2 triangular parts, I want you to draw a mountain shape. Now hop over here, draw a long triangle. Make sure it's nice and big. It should be bigger than these 2. Go underneath, draw that number 11. And now we have what we need to finish kind of this very big part of the castle. So I want you to go to the top of this little mountainy shape here. I want you to draw a diagonal line out. Draw a diagonal line down. And then draw almost a diagonal line back in. Make sure you hop over this tower right here. Go to this point, draw a line straight down. Now there's a little part of the castle that's kind of hanging off on the side here. That's just a long triangle with a curve to connect it. Okay, we're almost there, I promise. It's like we're making a Disneyland castle. Right here, I want you to draw another long triangle shape. Draw 2 straight lines down. Draw a box. And then draw another 2 straight lines down. And then bam, you've got the castle. Now it doesn't look exactly like the Sleeping Beauty castle, but it's very similar. Kind of like this tower portion here and how there's a bunch of different little pieces of the castle coming off from all these different angles. To make it look a little bit more natural, let's go ahead and add in some very tall trees. Again, this castle would be very far away. It's huge. For me, for these tree shapes that are kind of abstract, but again, they're just kind of here to fill some space, I'm doing very long rainbow lines, and I'm going to do 2 rows of them. Now, if you look at actual pictures of the Neuschwanstein Castle, it's really beautiful. It's out on the mountains. In the background, you can see like a mountain range. There's like all these trees and hills. It's the scene that you would see out of a Disney movie. It's absolutely stunning. All right, you did it. This next one is super easy. I selected it for you guys to be that way, and we are going to do Oktoberfest. Now, Oktoberfest happens in Munich, and it's this huge kind of folk festival. So there's a lot of things that go on there, but one of my favorite things that they have is pretzels and lots of really good food. So we're going to go ahead and draw a pretzel. First, let's write in Munich. That's how you spell it. And here's how you spell Oktoberfest. Now, as you probably can guess, Oktoberfest happens in October. Just a huge festival for German culture. All right, so let's go ahead and draw that pretzel when you're ready. To begin, we're actually going to draw one of the front twists. So I'm going to go kind of towards the middle of my paper. I want you to watch me draw this shape first. I'm going to draw a curved line out, around. You can see it's bigger right here. And then pull that back in. Kind of like we're making a very long jelly bean shape. Then I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to draw just a very long U shape. So we have the front two twists. Now I want you to go to the top here. You're going to draw a C shape. You're going to go just about here and you're going to draw a really long curved C shape around that touches maybe the edge of this twist. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the other part of the twist. This is like the bread going behind. Then you're going to draw backward C. Go to about here. Draw a really big curved line that touches the twist here. Go underneath the pretzel. Draw a little U. And draw a big U. Bam, you got a pretzel. You can feel free to draw confetti at this point and really add lots of really fun celebration things into the background. So once you've got all of this done, I want you to go ahead and outline everything with a Sharpie or a permanent marker of some kind. If you want, you could even outline it in a black colored pencil. You can see for the little map versions that I made, I did all the outlines with like a black colored pencil. You could even use like a very, very fine tipped marker. So go ahead and do that, and I'm going to walk you through just a couple of the coloring steps. They're actually pretty fast. All right, let's start with our first two here. The Heidelberg Castle as well as the Brandenburg Gate. Now for the Heidelberg Castle, it is actually this sort of, how do I describe it? It's like a tan goldish color. So I'm actually going to take watercolor and marker for this part and add that in. So for the marker, what I'm going to do is make the roof blue. This is actually a blue roof here. I'll show you where it needs to be. And I'm just going to fill that in. Of course, you can use anything else to color in. It does not have to be marker. It can be pencil. It can be oil pastel. You could even use chalk pastel for this. And then the windows, we are going to make dark brown, just so that it matches our very tan castle that we're going to make. You could also take the marker and add in short lines for windows along the sides here. There's lots of windows on the castle. Just like that. If you want, you could even take like a dark green or a light green. It's kind of up to you. And you could add in sort of like these swirling lines into this tree to give it a little bit of fun texture. Again, you could do this in a pencil, or you could even do it with a oil pastel. If you want, you can outline it too. I do like a light green outline just for fun. And you can add shading and all the things that you like. I'll just show you how to color it simply. So again, here's my watercolor. I have my markers off to the side here just so I have more room. But for this kind of tan color, I'm going to take a little bit of brown. I'll wash off my brush really well. And then I'm going to take a lot of yellow. And I'm going to mix. And I'm able to get this very pretty tan. And I'm just going to fill in the entire castle with this color. Now again, you don't have to do this in watercolor. You could do this really in any material that you have. Chalk pastel, marker, crayon, pencil, whatever you got. And you can just fill it in. Now be careful as you use marker. Depending on the marker that you have, it might want to bleed a little bit. For our purposes and for me, that's not going to matter too much because again, this brown goes really well with the color of the castle. So I'm not worried if it bleeds a little bit into the watercolor. I'm just going to spread out what I have. Where I'm probably going to be super careful is around the rooftop because I don't want that blue to smear. And just really spread that out. All right, getting into these little corners. Okay, you can even fill in like these little, tiny little spikes on the top of the building with that same color. As for the tree, you could pick a green and just fill that in. Again, if you use marker, it's okay if it bleeds a little bit because it's just going to lend itself to the texture of the tree. As for the background, again, Germany has lots of really beautiful hills and forests, so I'm actually going to use this light green color to kind of show the forest that's behind the castle. Now, most castles, you probably already know this because I'm sure you've done a lot of research or just know a lot about castles. But castles are usually used as a way of defense or for strategic purposes. It's kind of what this castle was. It's been around for a really long time. It's seen a lot. Again, hit with 2 lightning bolts. Can you believe it? That's why you see a lot of castles in Germany, because it was very popular for a period of time to sort of use those as a way to defend yourself. Also a way to show power. All right, there is our Heidelberg Castle. Next, let's go ahead and do the Brandenburg Gate. Now you can do this a couple of ways. You could use an oil pastel to add some details to it. I think that's what I'm going to do. You could do the same thing with a color pencil. Ultimately, it doesn't quite matter which material you use for the shading. Just be careful whatever you do use. So you could add some lines to this part right here. Some horizontal lines to the area here. You can do the same thing for the section right here. There's kind of like this sort of square part that goes along the edges in this section. As well, you could use the oil pastel or pencil or whatever you have to sort of add texture to the ground or even to the columns themselves, just so that you don't forget which one's a column and which one is the background. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure I mark which ones are columns and which ones are the sky. Then I'm going to make sort of like this light gray to fill in the Brandenburg Gate with. I already have some black here, so I'm just going to put some plain water in this section. I'm going to pick up some of the black I was using before, mix it in with the water, and then I have gray paint. So I'm just going to do a very light wash or a very light layer of this gray over our Brandenburg Gate. If you wanted to leave it white, you can. That will also look fine. But I would at least suggest filling in the sky and the ground with some kind of color. You could make the sky sunset. You can make it sunrise. You can make it cloudy. It's up to you what you want to do. I think for me, I want a very dark gray ground for my Brandenburg Gate. So I'm going to mix up a little bit more of that black color I was using and make more of a dark gray. Still not dark enough that it gets rid of the label on the bottom. Now, if you're doing those little map versions, the tiny little card versions of it, you could just use pencil for this. You don't have to use watercolor in areas that you don't feel comfortable using watercolor in. For the sky, I'm just going to do a blue sky, keep it simple. But again, you can feel free to do whatever color you want for your sky, as long as it's realistic. Alrighty. Almost there. On this side. Being very careful around these edges because again, I don't want this blue to get into the columns, which are white and gray. So if you have to be careful for this part, please do just take a moment to fill all of that in. I'm using the very top of my brush, kind of this edge, to get into these tiny little spaces. Oh, I think I need more water. There we go. Now, the Brandenburg Gate is not the same as the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall was literally a wall that separated Germany, and it cut off access to the Brandenburg Gate. But what's kind of cool about the Berlin Wall now is that lots of different places around the world and a lot of people can own a little chunk of the Berlin Wall. Heard some people come back with pieces of it because once it got taken down, it was destroyed. People hacked away at it. It's a really beautiful story of it coming down. All right, almost got this side done. Again, you do not need to worry about trying to finish this project at the same time as me. Because you're watching the video, you have all the time in the world to go at your own pace. My work is just here to serve as your example. All right, so that's all done. Again, take as much time as you need. If you want to add more shading and just add more details, go for it. Now I'm going to show you the coloring for this section here with our Disney-inspired, or rather, the castle that inspired Disney, as well as our pretzel. So, funny enough, the roof for the Neuschwanstein Castle is also blue. It's also a dark blue color. So, all the parts that are rooftops, we're going to fill in with a dark blue. I'm not using my watercolor just yet, so I'm just going to set that off to the side. And I'm going to fill in all of these triangular rooftops with blue. It's a very rich color. There we go. Now this castle actually was, it was made after the time castles were significant and held like strategic purposes. This castle was mostly built kind of for looks and to relax away into the countryside. It's purposely made to have this very fairy tale, romantic type feel to it. I encourage you to look up pictures of this castle. It is stunning, along with other castles in Germany. They're very, very beautiful. In fact, this is one of the most popular castles to visit now in Europe. It's kind of incredible. All right, once you've got all those rooftops done, I just noticed I missed a little one right here. There he goes. You can go ahead and start adding in some windows. Now again, castles have lots of windows, so you can take like the smallest part of your marker and just do short lines to add in a couple of windows here and there. Again, you could do this also with a colored pencil, oil pastel, whatever you like. There are some big windows here that you can draw in. A bunch of really small windows onto the sides. As you can see, these are all like windows as if they're very far away. This castle is enormous. I can't even imagine how big it must look in real life. All right, same deal with our trees here. You can feel free to outline them with a marker on the outsides, and you can do some texture on the inside just to make them look more interesting. Just outlining with the green. Going around the edges here. And I'll do just some kind of almost scribbling lines just to add a little bit of texture. It's kind of the fun of this one here is that it's okay to do a little bit of scribbling if it means that it's going to add some texture, especially for something like a tree. All right, watercolor for this part. So for this, you can use a small brush if you like. We are going to add a little bit of shading to the castle. For this, I don't want a lot. I actually don't even want a lot of water on my brush. I'm just going to pick up some blue. I'm going to wipe off the extra. I'm just going to add maybe a couple strokes, a couple spots here and there, just so that the castle doesn't look so flat. Now, it might be kind of hard to see on my screen. In fact, I'll pick up some darker color just so that you can see. There we go. So you can kind of see where I'm adding it in, just on the sides, just to give the castle a little bit of dimension. Adding it there, adding it along the edge here. Definitely got to do it on this very tall part of the tower. That's actually good. That's all I'm going to do. The castle is mostly white. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in my trees. It's a lot of green. I'm just going to spread that out. And again, I'm not worried about my marker bleeding away. I'm expecting it to work with the watercolor to make this very beautiful sort of kind of misty, magical forest. Now for the sky, we want to show that there's definitely like this very beautiful background, right? This amazing sky. We're going to do a little bit of wet into wet, but we're not going to do it in the whole background. I only want you to take your plain water and paint this area, this little corner here, and this little corner here with plain water. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our color that we want for the sky, whether it be blue or some other sunset color, and you're just kind of going to tap it around. We're going to give this effect of there being these far away misty clouds to make it look a little bit more magical. Maybe a little mysterious too. We're only going to do it in the corners so that our castle kind of stands out a little bit more. Now, you are free to fill in the entire sky. Don't let me stop you. It's just if this is one way you wanted to handle it, I'm giving you that option. And you can tap, tap, tap into other parts of the background. All right, last but not least, we have our pretzel. Our delicious, delicious pretzel. So for this, I'm going to take a brown marker and I'm just going to add some spots for texture along the bottom parts of the pretzel and even on the twists. So I'm just doing little dots over and over and over and over. Not even that many. You could even take a yellow marker if you wanted and do the same thing. You could do this also with an orange marker or an orange pencil or even an orange oil pastel or crayon. Whatever you've got is going to work. Then, bringing out the watercolors once more, I'm going to choose, again, this kind of tan golden color that we were using before. I'm probably going to make a little more of it. So I'm going to get more brown, wash off my brush, get some yellow, maybe a little bit more yellow, and fill that in. Just filling in the entire pretzel. Until it is complete. Now for the background, I'm going to let you decide what you want to do. You could do a green background like I did on my example, or you could do a different color, like an orange or something that maybe makes you think of October. But that is basically it. So what I want to take this time now to explain to you is where you place, if you're doing the map version, the different cities and the different landmarks. So obviously Berlin is going to go where Berlin is. So this is where the Brandenburg Gate ought to go, close to Berlin. The Neuschwanstein Castle is actually really close to the border of Germany on the south side, so you're going to place it there. Munich is just about over here, so that's where you're going to place your little section for Oktoberfest. And then Heidelberg is about over here, so that's where you're going to place it. All right, I hope you had a lot of fun visiting all these different places in Germany with me. It was a lot of hard work, but I think it all is going to pay off, and I hope you had a lot of fun. Next time, we're going to be visiting another country in Europe, so I hope you will be around to enjoy that with me. Stay tuned, travelers, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.